My name is Karen Swanston. I've been living here in Bucerias now for 7 years with my husband and my dog and my cat. We are originally from Regina, Saskatchewan in Canada, so we're most grateful to be out of the winter during this wonderful time of year. All of my life, I've worked in the nonprofit sector. I mostly worked in the area of sport. I worked for the sport of diving and the sport of gymnastics in the admin office, and in fact, I actually still do that. I still am the executive director for the sport of diving in my province, so I still work from a distance to make sure I can fund my taco habit. Like everybody, we just fell in love with being here, and we fell in love with that feeling you get when you get off the airplane and you're in the airport and there's that smell. Eventually we kind of started thinking maybe if we lived here, we would always feel like this. We would always feel like we were on vacation, which, was dumb. We just decided when our kids left home, we're gonna move to Mexico. And so we moved down, and we had always loved Bucerias. So we actually had bought a piece of land. We planned to build a house. My husband was in the construction industry, so we were gonna, build houses in Bucerias, and that just never happened. We just ended up doing other things, but we just fell in love with the place, and we've been here for 7 years. We just love the restaurants here. We love wandering around Plaza. We love the people we ran into, and slowly we began to move onto the other side of the highway and fell in love with the Mexican people that we met. Everything really changed for us when COVID-19 hit, as it did for everybody in the world, of course. We had just started, like a few months before that, maybe a year before that, a golf cart rental business. One day we had all our carts rented, and the next day we were getting calls from all of our clients that they were going to the airport, they had to go home. Could we come and pick up the cart? But a number of them said to us, our fridge is full of food, could you do something with it? And because we had worked in the community prior with some folks, we knew a number of families or communities that could really use the food that was in these condos. So we went, gathered up whatever was left over, and began to distribute it to people we knew would be in need. And as we did that, it just was like, whoa. Instantly, it was emergency, right? Like if you were a beach vendor, hotel worker, you were instantly out of work, and it was like end of March, early April, I think. So they weren't prepared for that yet. They were expecting high season for another couple months. And so people were instantly in emergency. And as we delivered this little bit of food, people were saying to us, do you have more? My neighbors need it as well. And so I right away contacted some of my family, my church back in Canada. I said, we're seeing a need here, can you send us some money? And so people were really instantly, on it. And so we gathered up some friends, got a bunch of money, got our golf carts, and my husband and myself and our friend Francisco started going shopping and giving out bags of food. We went up into a community not far from where we are right now, and we stopped to hand it out to this one family, and within 5 or 10 minutes we had like almost 100 people who had gathered around our golf cart for food, and we had enough for maybe 20. And at that time, the government and the police were saying like no gatherings of any kind. I knew one guy had been arrested for doing what we were doing in that moment, for gathering crowds. So we're like, please, we can't do this. But people were begging us for food. And so we, as fast as we could, wrote down like 100 names and said, we'll come back on Wednesday. And as we drove away, people, we could see they were coming from like down the streets, like they'd been phoning their friends and their neighbors. And like, we just realized like, oh my gosh, like we've promised food to 100 people, we don't have it, and then there's hundreds more waiting. So right away we decided we have to be smart about this. We're not just gonna stop on the street and get mobbed. And so we began to gather names, and we began to put it in a database. We began to send out text messages to people. We've set up a WhatsApp group and began to ask like actual vetting questions, like how many children do you have? Who's working in your home? What's your situation? How much rent do you pay? How much do you earn? And we started gathering all this data. And so over the next year, we got more of our golf carts involved, more volunteers. Every single day, Monday to Friday for the next year. We delivered like over 5,000 bags of food and to 1,500 families, some of them every 2 weeks, some of them every 3 weeks, depending on the information we had on them. When we were delivering food, we would deliver a bag, And the next day, you know, they'd call us over, come, and they would have made something out of the bag to share with me and my husband, you know, like they would have made some tamales with the chicken we gave them, and they'd want to, and I'd be like, no, you know, but it was important to them to share. And so we've just really created great relationships by this sharing. And we got to know people, right? And we got to know, like, more than half of them, probably 2/3 of people we met were single moms, lots and lots of children. We started giving out food to pets. We were driving around with bags of dog food as well. As the year went on, we just began to realize, like, this is never going to end. Like, we can deliver food to people for the rest of eternity, really. And that's not really solving any long-term problems. And so we began to think, like, what is the actual permanent solution to some of the needs we were seeing? We became friends with a lot of them. We began to talk, like, what do you actually need? Like, I know you are eating what we're bringing you, but what do you actually need? And after the end of that first year, things began to lift a little bit here, so that people were back at their taco stands. Some of them were back on the beach. And we began to realize, like, a lot of the moms were either couldn't work because they had children, or they were locking their children in the house so they could go to work. That was the biggest need we saw. Single moms needed someone to look after their kids so they could get back to work. And so we said, like, how can we do that? And one day we were out delivering and we came upon this building. A young couple had started building this house, and when the husband died, his wife wasn't able to finish it. So she had rented it out, and the people she had rented it to had completely trashed it. So there was not a wire left, there was not a plumbing pipe left, the windows and doors were gone. It was literally a square cement shell. And she was willing to rent it to us for $100 a month. So, okay, we can do that. We can set up some kind of a food distribution center, childcare center in this building. In February, I got a phone call from Bruce Piggott, who owned a restaurant in Bucerias. He owned Tequila Gardens. And he said, we're thinking of closing down the restaurant, our lease is up. I would like to donate our entire kitchen to whatever you're planning. And at that point, I didn't know what we were planning. I just knew we had this building, right? And we had this giant kitchen that was empty, and he offered us the kitchen. So his kitchen was a complete, quite new commercial kitchen. He said, you can have all the tables, all the chairs, all the dishes we have here in the restaurant, all the equipment, fridges, the stove, everything. But he said, but you have to have it out February 28th. That's when my lease is up. And, like, well, we're not ready, but I'm not gonna say no to this, obviously. So we just put ourselves to work fast. And on February 28th, we brought this kitchen over. And a lot of people said to me, that kitchen will never fit in your kitchen, like all that equipment. And when we brought it in that day, I'm not kidding you, it fit within an inch. Like, it exactly fit our space. And the tables, the chairs, everything exactly were what we needed. But we had we had no children, we had no program, we just had a kitchen and a building. And then we got a call that somebody knew somebody had heard some children's voices on a construction site, and they thought they might need help. So we went over and visited these parents and said, we're opening a children's shelter, a day shelter. Can we help you? And they were just like, please, please, please. Our children, like, they were living on a construction site under a tarp, so it really was not a very safe environment. And we were not ready, but we had a kitchen and we had one room. And so April 1st, we opened our doors to 4 little girls. And then it just snowballed very quickly. We had instantly had more people coming to our door, will you help our children? We need help. And within months, we were full of children. We realized all of these children hadn't been to school in 2 years. Like, they either had never been to school, or because of COVID, no school. And so that was the next chapter. We hired some teachers, we registered our children with the local, with the migrant school, and the rest is history. We now have 27 children here every day from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Every one of these kids has a really difficult story, like really difficult stories. And sometimes, like, the most you can do is give them a hug, you know, like, we can't solve their problems, we can't make choices for their moms, and some of them have dads, and we can't make choices for them. We just are there to walk alongside, and for the kids especially, like that is our number one priority, is like a safe place for children to come. Nutrition is huge. We have 2 nutritious meals a day, as well as a snack. Education is huge, but really to sit there and hug a child is our top job. Our top job description is hugs and love. It's been like every single day almost there's a miracle. Like honestly, like miracles. Like near the beginning we had I think 6 or 8 girls at the start. And I remember saying, oh my gosh, we have all these girls' toys. Like what if a boy comes? We'll have no toys for boys. And like that day, a lady drives up, pulls up her trunk, and it's full of boys' toys. I'm like, oh, I was just talking about that today. And then sure enough, that next week, a bunch of boys, mums came with boys. And so we were ready for boys, you know? I've had experiences like over and over where I'll just say like stupid things like, oh, if we had a glue gun, we could do this craft. And then that day, someone brings me a glue gun. We have a guy that came and says, I want to lead your kids in exercise. So they all went outside in bare feet. And I said, none of our kids have running shoes. And like that day, someone pulled up with bags and bags of running shoes, and they fit every kid we had. So every week we see God just providing what we need, both financially, like money-wise, people, donations, just whatever we need has appeared, just like weirdly. Whatever you believe, I believe God sends it. We have lots of volunteers, some who come and weed our garden or mow the lawn, but also take the kids out for walks. Or even up to a year ago, we had 0 children who could read. Out of 27 children, not 1 could read. And now most of our children can read. More than half for sure can read. And so to come and just sit upstairs with a book and let them read to you is really, really helpful. To help do homework is valuable. Even if your Spanish isn't that great, you can still let a child read to you. Come and play a board game with a child is helpful. So those are ways that you can help through here. But don't be afraid just to go out and talk to the people in the community and buy what they're selling, you know? Don't be afraid to try the little gelatinas that are sitting on a table or the big jugs of juice that are sitting on a table. Don't be scared to try all that stuff. It's probably good. If the mom's selling tamales on the side of the road, buy them. The government built that beautiful basketball court right before COVID. And then they closed it. It never opened due to COVID for like a year and a half. And about the time we opened this building, they opened the basketball court for the community. And like, I don't know, within a month or 2, it was trashed. All the fences were stolen, the lights were stolen, the toilets were stolen, like it was trashed. But the pickleballers came around, they were looking for a place to play, and they said, is there a way we could make this work? So us and the pickleball group met with the government and said, listen, how about if we put it all back together and we use it for the pickleball group and we use it for us, and the community can also use it, but we'll maintain it and we'll oversee the use of it. And they said, sure, we're not planning to fix it up. The pickleball group spent a fair bit of money, like a lot of money, to put it all back together. They use it now every morning, and as part of the partnership, we don't get rent or anything, but they raise funds for us. And amongst their group, they pay fees, and some of that they send to us, and they raise money, and they go around the community raising money. And our kids go over from time to time and hang out with them and sing with them, and it's a really cool partnership. And then what I like is that we're going to set up a little store over there in the one little room they have, and a couple of our moms are going to sell baked goods and drinks and coffee, and we're going to make it as a bit of a business for our moms, for them to buy things. And so we're kind of expanding it to work for everybody. We cry a lot. We cry a lot here. There's a lot of tears because we are so proud of what our teachers have done with our kids. I mean, when I walk in the door, like it doesn't matter how bad a day you've had, when 25 kids run up for a hug every single morning, you can't not feel good about life, right? But you also cry. Like, you know, yesterday one walked in and she just said, I have to sleep. Like she's 4 or 5, I need to sleep. And then I found out the family's been going through trauma. She hadn't slept literally in 3 nights because of family issues. So I'm able to put her in my office in her little blanket and she goes to sleep. And it's just like, this is their safe place. And they know that. And, you know, they're all my grandchildren for sure. And we just are a very loving community. And our staff, you know, we talk all the time about, you know, the main thing is to love these kids, to show them God's love, to just really let them know that, you know, life is hard, but there's all kinds of opportunities, and, you know, if you go to school, we're going to help you get this job. You know, we're talking to lots of them about what they're going to be when they grow up, and, you know, some of them, I don't know if they'll make it through school, but we're talking to them about what if we help you learn how to do nails, or what if we help you learn how to do construction, and we're just trying to put some kind of dream in a life that's just so hard, you know, and to their moms too, like, what can your child be someday? And we just want to put that within people that, you know, yes, life is hard, but you have so many opportunities now. Every day they will know they're safe, that they are loved, and we are going to be with them as they go forward into whatever their future looks like. We are not going to give up on any one of them. This is their refuge of hope.
All right, that was Karen's story. Pretty remarkable. Special thanks to our friends Bruce and Evelyn. They put me in contact with Refuge of Hope, and I really didn't know what to expect when I went over there, and when I met Karen and she shared her story, I became inspired to produce that video, and I'm hoping that it inspires all of you to also help out with Refuge of Hope. So what you can do is go to refugeofhope.bucerias.com, click on how to help. So a big thing they're trying to do right now is to pay off the actual building that they purchased. So they're trying to do that before November 2023. And so if you want to help me out, you can also buy me a coffee. I really like making content about Bucerias and the people that live here, but it is a lot of energy, it's expensive for me, and so if you guys can help out, buy me a coffee. Every little bit helps. So keep me caffeinated, keep me making good videos. And one more thing, if you're interested in moving to Mexico, I highly recommend using the Mexico Relocation Guide. This service gives you all the information you need about moving to Mexico, how to live here, how to get the visa that you need, what visa you qualify for, how to open a bank account, all those questions that people have when they move to Mexico. So follow this link. I'll put that one in the description as well. It's very important that you follow that link because that's how I get a little referral commission. And I got a bonus tip for you for people who are moving to Mexico straight from Karen. And that's gonna happen right after this. So thank you very much for watching today's video. I truly appreciate it. We love you guys, and adios.
One practical piece of advice I would give about moving to Mexico is, and we still do this, plan, if you're doing some kind of business or something, plan one thing a day. If you're going to the bank, then that's all you plan for today. And if you're done really early, then you have the rest of the day to go to the beach. But don't ever plan a government office and the bank on the same day. Like, that will kill you, right? Plan one thing a day. And then when you're there for 4 or 5 or 6 hours, you won't care because you planned your day that way. So that's really important. Don't ever think it will be like